Today, we're getting a sneak peek inside a wholesale grower facility where all these stunning poinsettias start their journey. Let's go. Today, we're going to talk about 5 tips for keeping your poinsettias happy. I'll share some tips on keeping your poinsettia healthy throughout the holiday season and beyond. Poinsettias thrive in bright light. They are a tropical plant. They love a good indirect bright light, kind of like you can see here in the greenhouse. Once you see it in the greenhouse, you start understanding how they're going to thrive in your home as well. Direct sun can actually give them leaf scorch, so you want to avoid that when you're placing a poinsettia amidst your beautiful Christmas decorations. Now, I grow here in Utah, zone 7A, but it gets really cold, and you need to keep in mind the temperature of your poinsettias. They like to stay between 65, 70 degrees. They don't want it baking hot, so try not to put them right next to a fireplace or a vent. And they also don't want to be next to a drafty door where it gets too cold. Placing them by a draft or a heater is going to cause them some stress, and they may start dropping leaves for you. Now, I have a few by vents in my own house, and I just close the vent for the season, and then I'll open it up again when I move the poinsettia. Is that dramatic? I mean, I want them where I want them to go. I keep them in a lot of places. If you're new here, my name is Natalie. I help beginner gardeners grow plants. Welcome. We're so glad you're here. Make sure you hit the subscribe so we can follow along and I can hear about your plants and you can hear more about these fun ones. I started on a different social media platform, the vertical one, and I've been an ambassador for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens for the last 3 summers, and I recently started a job as their director of brand strategy. And what that means for you is I get to share extra insider tips on all the things growing on in the greenhouse. Now, today I'm going to do an interview with my friend Brad, who is the head grower here at Olson's, and I'm really excited to hear the things that he has to say about all of the fun projects he's been working on here in the greenhouse. Tip number 2, check the soil regularly. Now, I like to tap or kick mine or pick them up, and when they're dry, they're not nearly as heavy, and so that's when I actually check and feel the soil on my plants to see if they need a drink of water. That's the way I do it. I stick my finger down in the dirt. It's easy. It's cheap. You can buy these moisture testing sticks with kind of a swirl on them. And then if you stick it in the soil and pull it out, if it sticks a certain way, I'm never going to be able to find a stick. I've got a lot going on. So I just use my finger. And if it's dry out water, that's the best way. And it works for me. Poinsettias can lose their leaves pretty quickly. So you don't want to let them dry out completely. If you live in the Intermountain West like I do, you need to be especially conscious of this fact and make sure to check them fairly often. I tend to water mine about once a week, but it also depends on how high the heat is in my home. When we turn the temperature a little bit warmer, it tends to dry things out quite a bit faster. So I know in my house, I have to remember that. Now, poinsettias can also lose their leaves if they're being overwatered. If you know you've been watering your plants and the leaves start turning yellow and dropping off, make sure that you're not overwatering because that could also be a problem. Tip number 3. Now, poinsettias love a little bit of humidity, and it is humid in here. My hair started out much curlier when I first came into the greenhouse, and it's slowly just living its best life. They like it a little bit humid. If you have a place in your house that's humid, around some of my trees and plants, I actually place a vessel or a vase. Mine are actually repurposed vases or cups of water to help humidify. Some people say it works, some people don't. I actually swear by it and I love it. I don't do it for my poinsettias, but I do it for my fiddly-sticks. But humidity needs are something that you might want to think about if you're struggling with your poinsettias. I don't tend to do that for my poinsettias. Now, something I've heard about that I really want to try this year with my poinsettias is actually a humidity pebble tray where you get a cute tray or an ugly tray, I don't think it really matters, and put some pebbles in with a little bit of water. My pebble trays I've had for orchids and things in the past have worked really great. I've never thought, quite honestly, to try them for a poinsettia, but this year we're going to give it a try. Tip number 4, avoid over fertilizing. They come already fertilized and ready to grow for the season, so you probably don't need to add any more fertilizer for the rest of this colorful time for your poinsettia. So definitely wait until after the holidays before you think about feeding them. I tend to use slow release granular fertilizers in my houseplants because I don't like fungus gnats and I like systemic things that kind of keep those pests and bugs out of my house. I'll link a few that I have tried. I have not tried any of these on a poinsettia. Honestly, the only thing I've ever fed my poinsettias with after the Christmas season is a fish fertilizer, and that just keeps it super simple and really easy. You can either add it to the water, 1 drop per cup of the concentrate that I use, and feed your plant, or you can also make a foliar spray out of it and spray the leaves. That's the only thing I've ever done in my poinsettia. Which brings us to tip number 5. Now, this one is key. If you live in a cold climate like I do, the temperature swings here in the Utah desert really far and wide. So you want to actually avoid extreme temperature changes. I've heard of people actually putting a blanket on their poinsettias when they're picking them up from the nursery. I have never gone that far, but what I will tell you is I don't leave them in a cold car if I'm going to do more shopping after I pick up my plants. I'll make sure that I'm actually going home and I can take them inside because the temperature swings can make them lose their leaves faster. Basically, you just want to avoid the temperature shock of moving the plant from a warm environment to a cold environment, back to a warm environment again. Now look at these varieties. Poinsettias aren't just red. You can see they even have pinks and whites and even marbled varieties, all kinds of fun, different things. There's different scales and sizes of bracts, which are the flower or colorful parts of the poinsettia. So make sure you check that out when you're shopping. Now that you know how to take care of poinsettias in Utah, these beauties will bloom long for you as well. And they'll stay fresh and festive throughout the whole holiday season. Huge shout out to Olson's, and thank you for letting me come and rearrange some of their plants for this video and check out all the beautiful things. We'll see you next time.